Agitavach, Amazel Degevach, Avach, Fil Mit Yeshia. Back again after Yom Tiv for another weekly review. Mazel Tov, congratulations to Moshe Newgarten and Yuri Harbaum for winning the Chazara. And congratulations to everybody who actually did the Chazaras and all the guys who didn't complete it but learned over Yom Tiv. That's the ikr. The main thing is to do Chazara, learn, and try to get as comfortable with the Gemara as possible. So today we're going to do the weekly Chazara, and we're going to start from the Chaf Hei Amud Aleph, 5 lines up from the bottom, the last one in the line. So basically, I know that we originally started from the Mishnah, but this is where we truly start from now. The Mishnah brought 3 things: Shluchim Mitzvah P'tur Min HaSukkah, Cholin U'Misham Shem P'tur Min HaSukkah, and Oichlin V'Shoysin Arachat HaSukkah. So we're discussing the Shluchim Mitzvah part, and first we discussed Kriya Shema. We learned it from B'Shift Chaveisacha Uvech Chavderech, and now the Gemara is going to ask, we learn it from there. Why do we have to learn it from there? We have another place where we can learn it out of, and it's going to bring that place, and that is from the Karban Pesach. So here we go. Va'oisik b'mitzvah pater min mitzvah is the oisik mitzvah pater min mitzvah me'achanafka. You learned it from here. Mehasam nafka. Let us say we learned it from someplace else, which was Karban Pesach. The Tanya learned in a brayso. Vayhi anoshim ashahu tmeim lenefesh. And there were people who were tamei lenefesh adam. They were tamei meis. Oisam anoshim yihayu. Who were those people? Noisei Aron Yosef. Hayu. They were the ones who carried the Aron of Yosef. The Rabbi Yosef Haglili. These are words of Rabbi Yosef Haglili. Rabbi Kiva says, Mishal vel Tzafan hayu. They were Mishal and Tzafan. So Rabbi Yosef Haglili says it was the people who carried Yosef's kever, and Rabbi Kiva says it was the people who carried Mishal and Tzafan. And the Gemara is going to come with the answer. It's going to say like this: Shayu Oiskim b'nadav view, Mishal and Tzafan or Oisik in another view. Rabbi Yitzchak comes and says, Im Yosef Yosef hayu. If they were the ones who carried the Aron of Yosef, they could have had ample enough time to become tar. They were parked for quite some time. If it was Mishal and Tzafan who were dealing with Nadav and Avihu, they also could have become tar. Why? Because it takes 7 days is the tahar process, and it happened on Rosh Chodesh when Nadav and Avihu were killed, and there's 14 days until the Karban Pesach. Ella, so must be, we're talking about Oiskim b'meis mitzvah hayu. It was regular people who were Oisik and meis mitzvah. That what happened? That their 7th day of the Tahara process fell out on Erev Pesach. Shenemar says in the pasuk, they were not able to do the Karban Pesach on that day. And what do we pull out of that? What do we infer? That it's specifically because it was B'yemahu that they couldn't. Had it been the next day, they would be allowed to. So which means that it couldn't have been any of those 2 cases. It had to be regular people who were oisik in a meis mitzvah. So now we're going to say tzricha. We need both. We need to learn from Kriya Shema, b'shift chaveisacha v'achtav derech, that oisik mitzvah is pater mitzvah, and we need to learn it from the Karban Pesach. Why do we need both? The Yashmin and Hasam, if we learned it from over there, meaning Karban Pesach, Mishlam D'loimot Azman Chiv de Pesach. Perhaps you would say, oh, the reason why over there Oisik in mitzvah is pater mitzvah is because right now you're Oisik in mitzvah, and the Karban Pesach is in a week from now, so you don't have to worry about it. Perhaps that's why you need a second place, which is Kriya Shema. But perhaps over here, because Zman Kriya Shema came right now, then and you're Oisik in mitzvah, you would not be pater from a mitzvah. You would not be pater from a mitzvah. Why? Because the mitzvah is right in front of you. Therefore, we need both cases. So if you would only learn it out from Karban Pesach, you'd have a hard time figuring out Kriya Shema. So tzricha, you need it. Now we're going to say the opposite. If you learned it out from here, Kriya Shema. Mishum like a karas. Perhaps the reason why by Kriya Shema, Oisik mitzvah is pater from the mitzvah because the mitzvah that he's pater from is not a karas mitzvah. However, if it would be like by Karban Pesach, Avol Hasam the Ika karas emalai. But if you only learned it from Kriya Shema and you had the scenario of Karban Pesach, you may say, oh, Oisik mitzvah is not pater mitzvah. Why? Because there's karas. Avol Hasam the Ika karas emalai, like we said. No, tzricha. That's why you needed the second one. You needed the one from Karban Pesach to tell you that even if it's something that's karas, you would have to learn it out. And you need the one from Kriya Shema to tell you that even if the mitzvah is in front of you, you would be mechuyev. You would be pater from it. Gufa Now we're going back to Rabbi Bar Zavda. He said a couple of things, and now we're bringing back. Gufa, Amar Bar Zavda Amar Rav. This is from Amar Rav. He said it. He said the name of Rav. Avol Chayav B'Kol Mitzvah Somewhere's B'Torah. And Avol is Chayav in all the mitzvahs in the Torah. Chutz Mitzvah besides for Tefillin. Sheinam B'Hem Peher. That what? It says that Tefillin is a crown. So now we say, Mida Amar Chmani Cheskel, because now, okay, Tefillin's a crown. Okay, what do we know that Tefillin's a crown? Also, what do we know that the Avol is Chayav in all the mitzvahs besides for Tefillin? And we're going to learn it out from the story that happened with Yecheskel. And the pasuk says over there that you should wear your crown on top of you. So because Hashem told him you, it's only him, but everyone else, when they're avelim, will be pater. V'hani milian, when do we say this? When do we say what that you're pater? When are you pater from all the mitzvahs besides for tefillin? And when you chayav on tefillin? When you chayav in all the mitzvahs, but pater from tefillin. Hani mili, when is this? B'yom rishon, on the first day. The chesiv, as it says someplace else, it says in Amos, v'acharisa k'yoyim mar, that in the end it will be like the worst day and most bitter day. And what is the most bitter day? The day a person dies, the first day of Avelos. That is the most bitter day. So now we're going to say like this. Okay, we're going to bring in another thing that Rabbi Bar Zavda says, the name of Rav, and we're sort of going to ask, why do we need to say it if we would learn it out from what we just said? And Rabbi Bar Zavda said the name of Rav, something else. Avol chayav b'sukkah and avol chayav in the sukkah. Pshita, it's simple. Why is it simple? Because 3 lines ago we just said avol chayav in all the mitzvahs in the Torah. And what's included in all the mitzvahs in the Torah? The mitzvah of sukkah. So Pshita, it's simple. So now we say, no. You may have thought something else. I may have thought, that's in someplace else. So Rabbi Bar Zavda says in the name of Rav that a mitzvah is part of the sukkah. So we have avol is chayav in all the mitzvahs in the Torah. We have someplace else that he says a mitzvah is part of the sukkah. So now we want to put those two and two together and say, maybe because he's a mitzvah is part of the sukkah, and who is super mitzvah? And avol. Perhaps he'd be pater from the mitzvah sukkah. And we're going to say, no, that's not the case. Hai nami mitzdarhu. Over here also, avol's a mitzvah. Kamash malan, no, we need to say specifically a avol is chayav in the sukkah. Why do we need to say it clearly? Hani mili, when do we say that an avol is, that a mitzvah is pater from a sukkah? It's tzar de memela. Is when the tzar comes from the sukkah itself. But over here in the Avil, he himself is causing him this anguish, this tsar. He should rather calm himself down, pull it together in order to be Mekayim the mitzvah. So one more time, we brought now, Rabbi Bar Zavda said in the name of Rav, that a Avil is chayav in the sukkah. Originally we would think it's so pashat because he's chayav in all the mitzvahs in the Torah. We're saying no, you may think because the mitzvah is part of the sukkah, so this Avil would be pater. Comes Rabbi Bar Zavda says in the name of Rav, clearly, no, in this case he's also chayav. Another thing that Rabbi Bar Zavda said in the name of Rav, V'amar Rabbi Bar Zavda Amar Rav, Chasan v'ashashvinen, a Chasan and his entourage, V'chol b'nei chuppah, and all the people who are part of the chuppah, P'tur min sukkah, Kol Shiva, are part of the sukkah all 7 days. And one of the reasons why the pater is because they'd be mitzdarf, they wouldn't be able to rejoice with the Chasan. And what is it? According to many, it's a mitzvah min Torah for Mishmech Chasim Kala. My time, what's the reason why they're pater? Mishum de bo l'meachti. That what? The mirti, that they're here to rejoice, to be Mishmech Chasim Kala. So now we're going to ask, okay, very good. They want to rejoice. V'lechlu b'sukkah. Let them eat in the sukkah. V'lechlu b'sukkah. And let them rejoice in the sukkah. Who says you can't do both? Do it in the sukkah, both. Comes the answer, no, ein simcha ela b'chuppah. The simcha, this simcha being Mishmech Chasim Kala only happens in the chuppah. Now, obviously, we're not talking about the chuppah that we say, and we mentioned this in Shir. It's not the canopy chuppah that we're talking about. It's the primary residence of the Chasan and Kala. And back in the day, they would have mamash 7-day party by the Chasana and the Sheva Brachas. Reason being, many people also probably traveled from far. They were there. They stayed there for those 7 days. V'lechlu b'sukkah v'lechlu b'chuppah. V'lechlu b'sukkah v'lechlu b'chuppah. So now the Gemara is asking, okay, how about something else? Let them eat in the sukkah and then go into the primary residence, the chuppah of the Chasan Kala, and a party over there. No, in simcha ela b'makom suda. No. There's only a simcha in a makom suda. You can't have this, that you're going to party and you're going to run back to eat and take a bite and run back. It doesn't work. So now we're going to say, okay, Another way to try to make it work. V'yevdu chuppah b'sukkah. Okay, so let this chassan and kala make their primary residence in a chuppah, in a sukkah. So we say no. Comes to Amiram, Abai and Rava, and they're going to say that doesn't work for us. Abai Amar Mishmichud. Abai said it doesn't work because of yichud. Basically, back in the day, the way they would have their sukkahs, it would be on top of the roofs of the houses. So you'd have your house and you have the sukkah on top of it. So what happens? In general, not many people are coming up to that roof. So what's going to be? The chassan and kala are going to be there with a friend. The chassan is going to have to go down, let's say, to use the facilities, and the kala may be left with a friend, and that's no good. That's a problem. Rava Amar, and Rava says his reason is Mishum Tzar Chassan. Why? Because if, let's say, also back then, meaning today's days, most people have 4 walls in their sukkah. Back in the day, they would have 2 and a third, which was a small wall. It just had to be a tefach. And what would be? Basically, you'd be exposed to everyone who's walking by. And the chassan won't be able to be sort of playful and schmooze and enjoy his time with the kala as much as if it would be more private, in a more private setting. So that's Rava's reason. So now, my benayu, the Gemara was asked, what's the difference between Abaya's reason and Rava's reason? Yichud or tzar chassan? Ike benayu, the shchichi inshi, the nafki va'ayli lahasam. The difference is, if this was a scenario where a lot of people are coming and going, why is that a difference? According to Abai, who says the reason is because of yichud, if this scenario has a lot of people coming through, there's no yichud because everybody knows he's coming and going. But according to Amar, that is tzar chasan, if there's many people coming and going, that adds to his tzar. Amar Abzir, so comes Abzir and he says something that happened by him. I ate in the sukkah, v'chadi b'chuppah, and I rejoiced in the chuppah, meaning I had a sukkah where I ate, and I would go to the house to enjoy and rejoice and party. V'kol shekein dechadi liboy, and even more so, my heart rejoiced even more. Why? The ka'avidna tarti, that I was capable of doing both. Basically, Abzir is saying, yes, he sort of understands that it's very difficult to do, but he's saying if you do it and you'll enjoy it, then you're being mekayim both, and for him, he really enjoyed it even more. Tanu Rabbanan, the Rabbanan learned, Chasan v'ashashvinan v'chol bnei ha'chuppah, the Chasan, his entourage, and all the people of the chuppah, p'tur min ha'tfilah. They're parted from the tefillah. U'min ha'tfilin, and from tefillin, v'chayav m'kriyah shema. So now why are they parted from tefilin, and why are they chayav m'kriyah shema? And Rashi says like this. Rashi says they're parted from tefillah because they need to have kavanah. And when you're partying and drinking and so on, you're not going to have such kavanah. U'min ha'tfilin, and from the tefillin, again, because mishum the shchicha, shikros v'kalas roish, they're going to get drunk, and kalas roish, you can't be drunk with tefillin. V'chayav m'kriyah shema, why? Because the mitzvahs kavana eina el b'pasuk rishon. That's kriyah shema, the main mitzvah is only to have kavana on the first pasuk, Shema Yisrael. And therefore, you could, for 10 seconds, or even if you want to say 20, 30 seconds, whatever it is, for that short amount of time, you should be able to have kavana. Now adds, or actually this on this last part of Kriya Shema, Mishum Reb Shila Amru, Reb Shila says, no, Chasan Potter, Vashashvinim, V'chol b'nei ha'chuppah chayavin. So he says not Chasan and Vashashvinim are chayav in Kriya Shema. Everyone, or his entourage is chayav in Kriya Shema, but the Chasan himself is Potter, because even that a little amount of time, he says, he's Tarid, and it's different, and he can't be able to get it to, clarity for that moment. Therefore, he would be Potter. Rabbi Isai, that ends off the Chazar for the week. Can't wait to see you all on Monday.